I'm here with the man who knows how to dress, Zach Strickland, the Sultan of Sonar. This is the Carrier Update brought to you by Powerfleet. Zach, let's jump into it.
I mean, I needed that boost today, Anthony. Thank you. We got our outbound tender rejection index and our outbound tender volume index here in green today. Looking for any significant changes in this market. Now, we had a little bit of a downward trend in our outbound tender volume index over the last week or so. We're seeing a pretty strong push down, but this is I don't know what to make of this erratic kind of signal here throughout January into February. It looks like the market has still got plenty of energy in it, lots of demand going on. It may not be as high as it was in the fourth quarter there, but it's still a really, when we're talking about tender volume indexes above 14K, which it is, and it has been for a long time now, there's just simply not enough capacity. Puts a lot of pressure on carriers. And so 18.86, little slight downtick in the tender rejection index. This is in line with what we would expect to continue to happen. A slow kind of this drawdown of tender rejection rates. It's almost like capacity is slowly being added. Now shippers are still bidding up rates because 18.86% is not sufficient in terms of compliance or service. So they're still going to try to have to bid each other out for the limited space that's available on these trucks. But this is slowly improving, and until this number right here, the green line, takes a dramatic move down one direction, it's probably going to stay in this same kind of pattern, unless we have some sort of weird January like Omicron variant, or I don't know what the next Greek alphabet letter would be.
Zach, when we're looking at this, I mean, like you said, we need to have relief, of course, in the demand side before we can have any relief throughout the supply chain. When you look at different events throughout the country, it seems like the seasonality is a little bit thrown off, but some trends are still holding true whenever it's inconvenient for the supply chain. So looks like we have produce season, and it's not really going to be, that's coming up in a little bit of time, but it seems like we don't really have too many pockets of relief coming up anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that everybody is already kind of like on edge. Yeah. Shippers are already trying to, but there's nothing we can do about produce. The weather still exists, yeah, and spring still exists. So let's look at the next chart, because that's a great segue into what I pulled up next, which is going to be our three different modes in tender rejection index. It's going to be your favorite index right here, which is a big mover here over the last bit, the flatbed outbound tender rejection index in purple. But reefer, right here in this orange line, reefer rejection rates, still really high, but for the first time in a long time, since about August, which is kind of ironic because that's the hottest time of the year for North America, we're dipping down below 33%. So it looks like the reefer sector actually seeing a little bit of relief right now, or signs of easing pressure. Now, 33%, a third of all tenders are being rejected. That's not good by any means, but it's a lot better than it was just a month and a half ago at 40%, right around the holiday period, and it really didn't seem like it was going to get any better. This was the first, when I talk about those like trend breaks, this right here, this little point of inflection right here at the end of January was the first time we actually did see some strong movement, like a cycle breaking, because this little trend right here goes all the way back to August of last year, where we were seeing this flat to slightly up tender rejection rate for the reefer sector. So it does look like reefer might have a little bit of breathing room heading into these produce seasons that are going to happen here in the next month or so, or start to happen, I should say.
Zach, you're exactly right. I love this purple line here, the flatbed outbound tender rejection index. I might even talk about a little bit later on the shipper update, but that's neither here nor there. We're looking at these trends now, Zach. Of course, as you mentioned, more capacity, different baselines, but that's one of the things I'm interested in is like, now, though we see this downward movement, it means it's more expensive, essentially, more compliance, higher prices. When you look at the future, and of course, the market's always going to decide, and this might be a shot in the dark, but we see the baseline kind of getting lifted for everything. Do you also see potentially the baseline lifted for those prices as well?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing, obviously, those prices are still elevating right now. And like I said, those shippers are going to continue to bid over the top of each other for the capacity. It's simply not enough. And then we have all these weird imbalances in the market as well. I mean, the interesting thing breaking out these, and your index here, the flatbed tender rejection index, This has been very disconnected from the other two modes. I mean, reefer and van are relatively connected. They move a lot of the same freight. When they're not hauling some refrigerated freight, they're hauling dry van goods, a lot of them. So these tend to be relatively connected, even though we've had this fanning here over the last 6 months or so. But flatbed, been completely on its own, disconnected from all modes, and it's just now really the flatbed sector. I mean, seasonality, you just talked about it. Flatbed season is about to start kicking here in the next few months. March, April, May, that's when all the construction in the northern tier of the country really takes off. So this is going to be the sector to watch moving forward for sure.
Music to my ears, Zach. I'm going to be watching this one like a hawk, as you know. Thank you so much for this first carrier update. We'll be sure to check with you a few more times, but right now we're going to toss it back over to Tony Mulvey.